Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show, Big Bold You. Now, this show is here to inspire everyone out there to play bigger, to be bolder, and to become the best version of yourself. Now, why? Why do we want this? The reason is because we are living in a time in history where there's always been a war between good and evil. And the only way that evil wins is when good people don't do enough. You know, the normal quote is when good people don't do anything. But I believe that it's when good people don't do enough. We have so many incredible people out there. Each and every one of you that are watching live, each and every one of you that watch on the replay, we're great, amazing people. And we've got so much greatness within us. We've got to really commit to developing those gifts and talents and becoming the best versions of ourselves so we can bless the world with our greatness and make this world a better place. So the guests that I have on our show every Monday at 3 p.m. Central are going to be the type of people that really are playing bigger. They're stepping out of their comfort zones. They're being bolder so they can bless the world with their best versions of themselves. And every Monday, I am not going to let you down. And this Monday, we have got Kari Bernstein here, who is completely amazing. She's a professional in the real estate industry. I was just thinking, you're a real estate rock star. That's what she is. She is a complete real estate rock star.
In training.
Well, tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I am in real estate for, almost 20 years, believe it or not.
20 years.
And that's probably aging me a little bit.
No, you started when you were 15, right?
I did. Well, not quite. But yeah, so I am sort of a unique person in real estate because I don't just sell homes, which I do and I love, but I have a property management division and I develop property. And so I do a little bit of everything in the real estate space.
But one of the things that I love so much about you is you are so real. You are so authentic, and you are all about helping people in every way. And what I love is our topic for today's show is how to beat negative self-talk. And we're going to learn more about Kari and about just some of we were talking about it just earlier today where, sometimes negative self-talk, it's so obvious. I mean, when you're sitting there saying, I'm dumb, I can't do it. I'm dumb, I can't do it. Right. I mean, that's some really big negative self-talk. It's so obvious. But you were sharing a lot of times what happens with you is what?
It's that subtle voice in your head. And you may not even recognize it. I think until you're attuned to it and really paying attention, you don't even realize it's there. So you sort of ride on this sort of, you stay sort of the same because you're never looking at things the way you're supposed to be. And you're talking to yourself in ways that you don't even realize you're doing.
Exactly.
So,
it's so subtle.
Yeah.
It's like, and see, to me, when we were talking about it, I said, we have to talk about that, Kari, because I think most of us, that's the negative self-talk. It's very subtle. It's one of those things where you might, in your mind, because in my mind, being bold is stepping out of your comfort zone. And when you're going to do something bigger, you have to step out of your comfort zone. So it could be something so small. The negative self-talk could be so subtle where you've got some big plans that you want to do something bigger. And then here's a really good one. You don't have time. I don't, that negative self-talk will start to ease in you and you'll say to yourself, I don't have time to do that. I've got 5 kids. Don't you have 5? I have 5 kids. I know, I have 5 kids too. I mean, you don't have to have 5 kids to be extremely successful, which Kari is extremely successful. But you start to say, oh, I can't do that because I'm too busy. I already have so many other commitments. And you don't realize that that's the subtle negative self-talk that starts to creep in. And to me, anything that keeps you in your same place is what we want to bust through. We want to push past the funk, as my son Brady said. Push past that. Push past that. So I think that's really important, and we're going to dig deeper into Kari. But before we do, one of the things that we're going to do every Monday is we want to hear from our viewers. We want to know, what are some obstacles? What are some things that you have questions about? What are you experiencing that we as people, just normal everyday people that are playing bigger, that are stepping out of our comfort zones and being bolder so we can become the best version of ourselves, we're going to discuss it. So we've got an incredible Ask a Life Coach video, and we're going to listen to that right now.
Hi, my name is Tisha Smith, and I'm from Houston, Texas. My question for you today is, how do we stop the negative self-talk? The kind of talk that allows us to doubt ourselves. Basically, we're just unkind to ourselves. We convince ourselves that maybe we're too old to do the job. Maybe we don't have the capabilities to accomplish what it is we need to accomplish. Just the kind of talk that keeps us from moving forward and allows us to doubt who we are and basically just not be compassionate towards ourselves. So how do we stop this negative self-talk? Thank you.
Okay, well, the first thing I want to say to Tisha is she looks amazing. Does she not look amazing?
She's gorgeous.
Well, she looks amazing
She's
in that
gorgeous.
white. I think you look amazing, Tisha. So Tisha looks awesome. But what I love is that, number one, she realizes what is going on, which is something that we were saying is, I think that it's easy when the negative self-talk is so, it's so obvious. But the subtle negative self-talk that we have, it's not as easy. So I love it that she starts to realize that, because here's the thing. Number one, every single one of us deals with this. Mm-hmm. Every single one of us deals with this. And Kari and I, we've known each other for a while. And here's what I want everybody to know is that your negative self-talk, those are your self-limiting beliefs that everybody has, and they're not true. We truly are limitless. I mean, there's nothing that Miss Kari Bernstein over here can't do because she's a rock star, even if it was outside of the real estate industry. Now, obviously, we all have our gifts and our talents and our strengths, and hopefully you're finding what your purpose is, and you're finding what your passion and your divine calling is. And when all these things come together, it makes it a lot easier to fight the negative self-talk. But here's what I think is important, and this is one of the things Kari and I have discussed. Start to recognize when you experience that. Typically, it's going to be 1 or 2 or 3 times during the day. I mean, for myself, and I think this is where Kari and I are the same, for me, it's if I'm going to experience the self-limiting beliefs, that negative self-talk, it is after I have done everything for the day, because I'm too busy. I'm going to tell you right now, I am way too busy during the day to have any negative thing pop into my head, because I am just go, 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 go. But for me, it's when I go to bed at night and it's quiet and it's all to myself. And what I do is I do my plan to review every day, every week, every month, every year. But at night, I will start to think about, what did I do that day? Or I start to think about what I'm going to do the next day. And that's the time that I will experience those self-limiting beliefs or those negative self-talk. I mean, when do you find that you experience that?
I would say sometimes in the morning even. And you're right. It's when I think people like us don't stop. No. So we don't think about these things so much. Mm-hmm. They don't come into our brains because we're just doing it. And then we sit back and all of a sudden it's like, who do I think I am? It's a little bit of that, or you have an idea and maybe you don't feel as connected to it at that point, mm-hmm. because like you said, there's this wall before it. So it comes to me in morning and night, I would say.
So I think the first thing is we realize that everybody has self-limiting beliefs, that we all have negative self-talk that we're saying to ourselves. The second thing is, to stop it, you have to know when you experience it the most. I mean, there was one of the most professional makeup artists, and her name is Melanie, and I just can't think of her last name, but she does all the makeup for Dancing with the Stars. She's incredible. I was at an event where she was at, and she will wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning. She will drive to the studio. She'll be on set. She's putting makeup on Jennifer Aniston and all of these amazing celebrities. And for her, she said it's when she would get in the car after putting makeup on these incredible people that they obviously wanted her to do their hair and makeup, or their makeup, and she's driving home on the 405. I do know that. The 405 there in LA, she's driving home, and she will start to say to herself, I really didn't do that good of a job. You know, they didn't like what I did. You know, I hope I get hired again. So I think that first, obviously, you got to recognize we all have limiting self-beliefs, that negative self-talk. You got to understand that there's going to be one or two or possibly 3 times a day, or a situation, or you might find out that when you're hanging out with a certain person or a certain group of people, that it's just not a good environment for you. Those people aren't good to surround yourself with, because when you leave, you're doubting yourself and you're thinking negative things. I mean, you want to be surrounding yourself with people that build you up and make you feel better. And if you find that, oh my gosh, you know, I've got this so-called friend of mine that I've known for years, but every time I leave going to lunch with her, I feel horrible about myself. You know, you need to start cueing into those kind of things. And then here are the last 2 things I think you need to do. Is number 1, get real with what those negative self-limiting beliefs are. And if you find that one of them, which, you know, you and I have discussed it, I think that we're similar in we say, what makes me think I can do that? Where, you know, you've got something that you're about to bite off that's so big, and you say, well, who do I think I am doing that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, absolutely.
So
yeah.
you have to be real with yourself and find out, what are your self-limiting beliefs? What are the most common things that you say to yourself over and over and over again? And then you are going to take those self-limiting beliefs and you're going to write an I am affirmation next to it. So if maybe, I think something that Tisha said that most females can relate to, which is, I'm too old. I'm too old to start that. Well, an I am affirmation would be, I am the perfect age to start that. And I have got all the resources that I need, all the gifts, all the talents. I just need to do the work. So be specific, write those I am affirmations that really correlate to the specific self-limiting beliefs that you have, and then say those things out loud 5 times every day. Now, Kari, are you going to say them out loud 5 times every day? I'm telling her to. Are you?
Yes, Jens. I will do anything you tell me to do.
You think that, here's what's so crazy, and you and I have had a lot of conversations about mindset, because there's a quote, and I've got a quote Ziggy's going to put up there, that we can never outperform our thoughts. And I want y'all to see this. You can never outperform your thoughts. And at the end of the day, if you think you can do whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, you're going to be able to do it. But if you don't think you can do it, you're not going to be able to do it. And here's the one thing. Our minds don't know the difference between reality and fiction. So if you say to yourself, I am the most incredible person in the world. I've got all the gifts and all the talents within me to do everything that I want to do. And you get real specific with those I am affirmations regarding your individual self-limiting beliefs. Your brain will just believe whatever you say to it. And the other thing that I think that's really crazy is whatever you do say to it, your brain will go out and try to prove it right. So, for instance, if one of your self-limiting beliefs is, I'm not very smart, then every time you make a mistake, your brain is going to point it out to you and say, see, you're not very smart. Well, if you say, and I'm not trying to be ugly to any man out there, but you know how many men have these beer bellies? And they just say to themselves, they're the most amazing, great looking things they've ever seen, you know? And believe me, they honestly believe that. So whether you're a male or whether you're a female, I want you to say amazing, wonderful things to yourself. And I do want you to say those things out loud. So enough about negative self-talk. We're going to talk about that more. But we have got an incredible guest with us. And Kari, I really want everybody to learn more about you, really where you've come from, what your story is, and how you got to where you are right now.
Okay, that's a loaded question. You know, I have really a great background. I have amazing parents and that I love tremendously. And I had a really nice childhood and went to a high school with great friends. And so I've really felt pretty supported in my life. But I came from sort of that traditional family where my dad went out and he was the one that worked, and he was kind of a hustler. He's a force. And my mom stayed at home and she raised us. And it looked like this division of power was unequal, even though now that I have 5 kids, I understand quite well that my mom had the harder job, right?
Exactly.
Like way the harder job. But to me, I'm the oldest, and I just decided young that I was going to be something. I didn't know what it was going to be, but I was going to be something. And it's funny, I remember my dad and I went to college in Miami, and we're sitting on South Beach at the News Cafe, which, you know, was the cool in spot at the time. And he says, all right, so you're in college, so now what are you going to do? And I looked at him and I said, well, I don't know, but, you know, I'm not going to be like Mom. I'm going to do something, you know, for real. And he actually looked at me for the first time and said, you know, your mom, you know, you don't know what it took for her to raise you.
Right.
It was this nice little element where he finally, you know, stood up for her and realized all of her accomplishments, because my mom's amazing. But I've had this intense fire in me forever. I got into real estate, in fact, because of my dad. And I don't know, I just decided to make my own way with it and fall in love with it. And I've tried a lot of various things with regards to it. I know that for me, what has helped in my career the most is actually connecting to myself. And I know we're both big Gary V.
Love Gary V.
We love us some Gary V.
We love us some Gary V.
We love us Gary V.
Come on up the show.
I went to a class today and the guy said, so who knows who Gary V is? And I went, and nobody else even knew who he was. I thought, who are you people?
I know. Don't you immediately just bond?
That's
and you're
right.
like, I love that person.
You get it.
You get it, totally.
Yeah. But, you know, regardless, I have found that the more true that I was to myself, the better I've done. And I am a person that comes from heart. I'm very, very deep. I've got lots of layers of depth. Life means a lot to me. Things mean a lot to me. People mean a lot to me. And the more I've led with heart and passion, and really a relational practice more than a transactional practice,
right,
the more successful I've been.
Well, and to me, I think that's probably one of the most important discoveries that we have in life, is that when we get to a point where we realize it's the relationships and not the transactions. I mean, I say this all the time. I was actually this weekend doing copy for my website, and on my website I said, I don't want to work with everybody. I don't want to help everyone, because I know I can't help everyone. I'm only supposed to help the ones that I'm blessed to help. And I will get up early, I will stay up late, I will do anything and everything in my power to help them. But we live in a world of abundance, and that's one thing I love about you so much, is not only are you so abundant with your mindset, but you are so abundant with your wisdom and your knowledge and your expertise. And I know sometimes that's not always easy. I know sometimes you're fighting all of the negative self-talk that you have, but you just keep giving. And I think that's huge. So you had to learn it. We learned those things from our environment.
Yeah, no, I for sure. I mean, it started with my grandmother, who's, thank God, still alive, an amazing person, and she had gone through the Holocaust and survived it, and still was the most positive person I knew. And she's obviously a little bit different now. She's aged, but that's all we've got. Like, the money comes and goes and the experiences come and go, but what we leave behind is how we treat people and what we give to them. And I fought that for a long time because it's really not acceptable in real estate. We're supposed to be very ego driven. Mm-hmm. It's all about me. Look at how many deals I closed. And we're always talking this way to each other and putting a lot of pressure on each other. So for me to step outside of that, it took a lot of work. I mean, I don't want to say that I just came that way. It was work, final acceptance of myself, but I've never been happier. I mean, right. I feel like my clients get the best of me, and I'm always trying to do the best I can.
Well, I think one of the most important things that you said, and it's something that we talk about all the time, which is why we love Gary V, which is you have to be true to yourself. You've got to learn what it is that you're passionate about. And this is one thing I think that when people are driven by passion and purpose, you do act differently. And when people are driven by purpose and passion, this is one of the reasons why we started this show. We want you playing bigger because we all need to play bigger. But here's the thing is, when you're driven by purpose and passion and you're doing what you're doing for something so much bigger than yourself and money, because money is just a byproduct, it's a result of your work. And if you're working in passion like you're doing, and I want you to tell some of the things that you're doing here, it does help you push past the funk, and it does help you push past that negative self-talk, because what you're doing isn't just to bless yourself and your own individual family. What you're doing is to make a difference. And I think one of the things that you're in the process of creating is huge in the real estate industry, specifically here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So what are you doing?
Who are you and what are you doing? I found that real estate can be a very lonely place. It doesn't matter what company or brokerage firm that you're with. A lot of things are thrown at you, and you're supposed to buy a lot of things, marketing packages, and keeping up with things to keep up with the Joneses. How do I practice real estate the way I'm supposed to practice it? A lot of things out there, and there's not a lot of community. Even amongst the brokerage houses themselves. So I have started a real estate alliance, and we're starting initially with just a monthly education event, just a place for us to get together and mastermind and hear from amazing people like Jen's, who got to speak to us this past week.
That's awesome.
And the response was amazing too, because everybody loved it. But, just a place for us to come together, get better together, grow together, share ideas, invest in each other, and get out of the ego.
Yeah.
And ego we need ego, but it can be a dangerous place to live.
But one thing that I think is so neat about what you're doing is Kari and I, we've gone back and forth in discussions, and you have said, I know I'm supposed to do something bigger. I know I want to help people because that's who you are, at the core of who you are. But what I think is really neat is what you said, especially in real estate. Real estate is one of those industries where you are by yourself. There is big egos. But when you get people from the same industry together in a safe, loving environment, I promise you, these real estate people out there, they're saying the same self-limiting beliefs to themselves.
Sure.
There's no doubt about it, because every industry has with it certain I don't want to call them headaches, but challenges and obstacles. And so if one person in real estate is having a certain self-limiting belief, I promise you how many hundreds of other people are thinking the exact same negative self-talk. And getting like-minded people together in any industry, because there's a power in numbers that we can't duplicate. I mean, Kari's amazing. I'm amazing. But you get us together, there's nothing we're not going to be able to do, right?
We save the world.
We save the world. That's what we're doing.
Right.
We are saving the world. But that's what we all need to do. And so this group, this Real Estate Alliance group that you have started, how does one get involved with it if they're interested?
Well, we're starting off very slow and just really with just this monthly education event. So I think the best thing to do is just to find me on Facebook and send me a message, and we'll talk about how to get connected to the group. It is a very nice place to be. It's already grown quite tremendously. We have people asking to join the group on a daily basis now already, and we're just starting. And I see this being a really important place for people in the industry. So yeah, just reach out to me on Facebook. And
now you've got once a month that you've got an education opportunity, which it really is amazing. You're going to have phenomenal speakers that come. But then don't you also have a private Facebook group?
We have a private Facebook group that we're just getting going.
Okay.
And it's not where it's to the point that we're connecting to each other yet, but it will be.
Okay, wonderful.
We're getting there. We're just starting it. And I see a lot of different opportunities, masterminding, smaller group masterminding opportunities. You know, a lot of things get thrown at us like, you should do this, but then we don't have the resources to actually get it done.
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
Brand yourself. Okay, great. Well, what does that mean?
Well, and here's a whole nother show, but here's what I say all the time is you want to have a big strategic plan. And what I see a lot of people do is, to your point, they're doing a little bit here in branding, they're doing a little bit here on their website, they're doing a little bit here on social media. They've got the pieces of the puzzle, but it's like hodgepodge. It's not, here's the big strategic plan, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do this, and it all gels together. I see a lot of people wasting a lot of money because they don't have one or two people that they're working with on the big picture.
Yeah.
And I think, again, because it's the same industry, you can share the best practices, because believe me, there are people that have it figured out.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have to go try to figure it out on your own. You just have to find the right people.
Yeah. And I think get really real on what is the practice of real estate that you are trying to be in. And there's so many ways to do it right. And you just got to figure out what it is that you want to do and then work towards it. And that's what we're trying to guide people towards.
Right.
Instead of just following, the ego, and there's lots of good stuff that can come out of that as well. I mean, it pushes you, but how do you connect to yourself so you understand what it is that you want to build?
That's right.
And then what? And then what?
Because the only way you can effectively brand yourself is when you really are authentic to who you are.
100%.
And you have to know your why. You got to know why you're doing things. So it's a process. So that's what I tell people all the time. Don't go out and spend a ton of money until you really have a couple questions concrete. What is your why? And really who you are. I mean, what do you want to brand? And I think that's one of the really neat things that your Real Estate Alliance is going to do with that group, is help people have clarity, gain clarity. That's so important, because a confused mind does little. All right.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Now, I think that one of the most important things that I didn't mention, I want to mention about how you beat negative self-talk. You've got to be reading good books. I'm telling you, if you read a good book and you focus on reading a good book, 10 pages of a good book every day. Thank you, Jeff Olson. That's straight out of the Slide Edge. But if you read 10 pages of a good book every day, it helps fight that negative self-talk. So I think that's super, super important. And I will tell you, one of the things about Kari is she is a wealth of information, and you're going to have to come back so we can talk about some other stuff. But
I would love that.
I mean, it goes so fast. I mean, it's already almost 3:30. I mean, come on now. But here's some things. I've got a couple questions that we're going to put up on the screen. Number one is, I really do want you to understand, what thoughts are you having that are holding you back? Now, the picture that's up there on the screen, let's look at that picture, though, real quickly again, Ziggy, because I went out of order. These are some phenomenal pictures. Well, the ones that we just were looking at. There were some phenomenal pictures of some of Kari's most recent listings that she had.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
Some pretty houses.
I know they are some pretty houses. So if you've got some pretty houses that you want to list,
yes,
you got somebody great. But let's go. There you go. Look how beautiful that is.
Isn't that nice?
I mean, it's gorgeous.
It's two different houses that are one is actually under contract and the other one is currently on the market. So,
I love it. They're beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
But let's go back to those questions. Number one. What I want you to know, I want you to ask yourself, what thoughts are you having right now, currently, that are going and playing in your brain that are holding you back? I want to know, and you want to know, you need to know, what are those thoughts that are holding you back? Second question is, I want you to ask yourself, when are you ready to change those thoughts? Because believe it or not, Kari, some people are not ready to change those thoughts. They are comfortable, they're in their comfort zones, and you don't want to get out of your comfort zones because you're going to have to work. And here's the thing, though, is it's rewarding. It's rewarding to find your passion and to get out of your comfort zone. And the last question is, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? All right. We have to be in action. Success happens in action. You'll hear me say over and over again, life is like a maze. There's one correct way in. There's one correct way out. You're not going to get lost, folks. But the only way you can succeed is by doing. You've got to be in action. And one of the things that I think is so important is that you don't take yourself so seriously. So at the very end of every show, we have a segment called Laughter is the Best Medicine. And before Ziggy plays it, I want to say a couple things. Number one, if you have an Ask a Life Coach video, if you have a Laughter is the Best Medicine video, and I want to thank Steve Rogers for sending me a very, very funny one. I've just got to figure out how I get just the right piece. But we're going to listen to a Laughter is the Best Medicine right now. So let's listen up.
We go. Name something a woman does for her baby that she... Yes.
Changes his diaper.
Changes his diaper. Name something a woman does for her baby that she also does for her hubby. So your big nasty man just laying his little nasty self up there, just boo-booing on his big old funky tail, huh?
Okay, so what I love about that is how many times have you responded, replied, or immediately made some type of assumption before you got all the information?
I'm notorious for that. And I know my husband would agree.
Oh, I am too.
Right?
I mean, believe me. I think it was perfect that it was a woman that was saying that, because honestly, I've done that exact same thing with my husband, where I'm getting information, which is what we should do. We're getting information, but then we cut it off. We don't get all the information, and we assume that we know what is really happening, and we really don't. So I love that for the Laughter is the Best Medicine. I also love Steve Harvey. He's one of my favorites.
He's hysterical.
So I will tell you my favorite three comedians in order. I've got Dave Chappelle, Kevin Hart, and Steve Harvey. They're hysterical. So you are going to be seeing those comedians on our Laughter is the Best Medicine. But anything that you have that you'd like to share with us, don't take yourself so seriously. Nothing is going to last forever. Your hard times, I promise you, will not last forever. And your good times are not going to last forever also. So you just got to realize, take everything with a grain of salt, have so much fun, laugh, crack up, enjoy life, and come back and see us every Monday at 3 p.m. So thank you so much, Kari, for coming on.
Oh, it was a pleasure.
And we're going to come back, and we're going to have Kari come back too as well. So until we meet again, be big, be bold, and most importantly, be you.
you.